Isaac Newton, Alexander Fleming, and a 3M scientist have in common? They all asked the right question and changed the world. Isaac Newton asked, why does an apple fall straight down? The result was the realization of gravity. Alexander Fleming asked, why is there a clear space around which bacteria doesn't grow in my petri dish? And the result was the invention of penicillin. And let's take the example of the Post-it note. Back in 1968, a 3M scientist was trying to create a super strong adhesive and instead created a very weak one. Instead of asking the question, why did this fail? He asked, what else could I use this for? Voltaire said, judge a man by his questions rather than by his answers. Questions matter. They can make you seem smart or foolish. They can bring realization, insight, innovation, creations, or they can create misunderstandings. Roadblocks can alienate. What if I were to tell you that you could create whole new worlds, ideas, solutions? You could become wealthy financially and with regard to happiness if you can learn how to ask powerful questions. How do I know? I've spent the last 20 years interviewing leaders like Elon Musk and Vladimir Zelensky. I've moderated conversations between government, NGO, and business leaders. I've worked in places where the expectation is that you know the answers. The White House, Chatham House, Harvard University, and have discovered that if you ask the right question, it is far more powerful. And today, as an executive coach and moderator, I make a living out of asking the right question, the right time, in the right way. It pays my mortgage, it makes me happy, and it brings clarity where there is confusion. So questions matter. Let me introduce you to the 5 C's of asking great questions. Which of the following is going to make you want to think or contribute to the discussion more? Which is going to make you want to engage with me more? Is it, could you clarify whether your argument is aligned with Professor Allison's thesis that the US-China relationship is falling into the Thucydides trap? Or is it, are there any historical examples that might help us to understand the situation better? The second is likely to lead to a more productive response. Why? Well, the second is going to provoke thought, whereas the first just makes me sound pretty arrogant. So the first C of asking great questions is curiosity. Make sure you really want to know the answer to the question. Be interested, not interesting. If you show genuine curiosity, the person will open up in ways you can't imagine. But let's take a step back. My original question wasn't a terribly good one. Did I want you to answer the first question, which is going to make you think and contribute more, or the second question, which is going to make you want to engage with me more? If I don't know the question you're answering, I don't get terribly helpful information. So the second C of asking great questions is having clarity. Make sure you know the question you really want the answer to. Are you trying to elicit information? Are you trying to clarify? Are you questioning assumptions? What are you actually trying to do? And don't ask more than one question at a time. It will not lead to a productive conversation. So we now have the first 2 C's of asking good questions, curiosity and clarity, but there are 3 more you need to know, you need to think about when you ask good questions. The third is context. Know your context, know their context. What's their perspective? How are they feeling as they enter into this question? So, for example, if you innocently ask the question, oh, can I help lay the table tonight? If somebody's stressed, they might think what they hear is, Why are you not ready yet? Be careful with why questions. They can sound quite judgmental, so why did you do it that way could sound like that was a really silly thing to do. Try to put yourself in their shoes. Take their perspective. Use metaphors, maybe, that will resonate with them. Context. The fourth C, content. What do they need to know to answer the question? And what's unnecessary? Too much information is just going to cloud the question. So, for example, given that climate change is accelerating with global temperatures rising, sea levels increasing, and extreme weather events becoming more frequent, and considering that the government is struggling to implement their policies at scale, what do you think the role of the individual action should be in addressing this crisis? All you really need to ask is the question, what impact can individual action have in addressing the climate crisis? That's all the information they need to know. Content. And the final C is contrast. Help them to gain a different perspective. So if the conversation is taking place at the tactical level, detail level, for example, what more features should we add to our app? See if you can move the conversation to the big picture, the strategic level. How do we balance the user engagement with an app that is simple and intuitive? By helping your listener get a different perspective, they will make a better decision. They will have new insights. So those are the 5 C's of asking great questions. Curiosity, make sure you want to know the answer. Clarity, what is the question to which you want to know the answer? Context, what's yours, what's theirs? Content, what do they need to know and what's unnecessary? And contrast, help them to get a different perspective. But I've not told you the most important thing about asking good questions, and that is to listen. Don't start thinking about what comes next the minute they start answering your first question. Take a moment after they're finished to reflect on what they said and ask a question that picks up what they said. You will ask far more insightful questions. It's not just the questions you ask others that matter, but the ones you ask yourself as well. Why is this important to me? What do I want in my life? What are my priorities? If you don't ask the right questions, you're unlikely to come to the right answers. I'm going to close by asking a question, and it's a really important question. What's the thing that most often gets in the way? And the answer is ego. We don't ask the question because we're afraid of being foolish, or we ask the question to impress rather than to gain insights. Questions aren't about trying to look smart. They're about trying to elicit new information for yourself and for the other. Albert Einstein said, if I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on the solution, I would spend the first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask. For once I know the proper question, I could solve the problem in less than 5 minutes. Questions can reach into your head and your heart and your soul, and they can elicit information that you had no idea was there. The answers that you come up with yourself are so much more powerful than those that other people tell you. Not everybody in this room can be a 21st century Einstein or Fleming or Newton or even a 3M scientist. We can't all be the experts. We can, however, be the one who unlocks expertise. That is how we can all be transformational. We can all change the world. Thank you very much.